In Greek mythology, Antigone is the daughter, sister of Oedipus and his mother, Jocasta. The meaning of the name is, as in the case of the masculine equivalent Antigonus, worthy of one's parents, or, in place of one's parents. Classical depictions. Antigone is the subject of a story in which she attempts to secure a respectable burial for her brother Polyneices. Oedipus's sons, Eteocles and Polyneices, had shared the rule jointly until they quarreled, and Eteocles expelled his brother. In Sophocles' account, the two brothers agreed to alternate rule each year, but Eteocles decided not to share power with his brother after his tenure expired. Polyneices left the kingdom, gathered an army and attacked the city of Thebes in a conflict called the Seven against Thebes. Both brothers were killed in the battle. King Creon, who ascended to the throne of Thebes after the death of the brothers, decreed that Polyneices was not to be buried or even mourned, on pain of death by stoning. Antigone, his sister, defied the order, but was caught. In the oldest version of the story, the burial of Polyneices takes place during Oedipus' reign in Thebes, before Oedipus marries his mother, Jocasta. However, in other versions such as Sophocles' tragedies Oedipus at Colonus and Antigone, it occurs in the years after the banishment and death of Oedipus and Antigone's struggles against Creon. Creon was next in line to throne, as he was Jocasta's brother by Michelides. In Sophocles' version, after the death of Oedipus, it was decided that the two brothers, Eteocles and Polyneices, were to take turns reigning over Thebes. In a fight over who was to rule Thebes, the two brothers kill each other. Antigone is brought before Creon, and states that she knew Creon's law regarding no mourning for Polyneices but chose to break it, expounding upon the superiority of divine law to that made by man. She puts the will of the gods ahead of man-made laws, responding to the decision of not granting Polyneices a burial with courage, passion, and determination. Sophocles' Antigone ends in disaster, with Antigone being locked in a tomb on Creon's orders. Although Creon had a change of heart and was headed to the tomb to release Antigone, Creon's son Haemon stabbed himself after seeing that Antigone had hanged herself in the tomb. Queen Eurydice, wife of King Creon, also killed herself following her son's death. She had been forced to weave throughout the entire story, and her death alludes to the fates. Euripides' lost story. The dramatist Euripides also wrote a play called Antigone, which is lost, but some of the text was preserved by later writers and in passages in his Phaenomena. In Euripides, the calamity is averted by the intercession of Dionysus and is followed by the marriage of Antigone and Haemon. Antigone also plays a role in Euripides' extant play The Phoenician Women. Appearance elsewhere. Different elements of the legend appear in other places. A description of an ancient painting by Philostratus refers to Antigone placing the body of Polyneices on the funeral pyre, and this is also depicted on a sarcophagus in the Villa Doria Pamphili in Rome. And in Hyginus, a version of the legend, founded apparently on a tragedy by some follower of Euripides, Antigone, on being handed over by Creon to her lover Haemon to be slain, is secretly carried off by him and concealed in a shepherd's hut, where she bears him a son, Meon. When the boy grows up, he attends some funeral games at Thebes, and is recognized by the mark of a dragon on his body. This leads to the discovery that Antigone is still alive. The demigod Heracles then intercedes and pleads with Creon to forgive Haemon, but in vain. Haemon then kills Antigone and himself. The intercession by Heracles is also represented on a painted vase. Gallery Antigone by Frederick Clayton, 1882. Oedipus and Antigone by Alexander Kokula, National Museum, Warsaw. Oedipus and Antigone by Charles Jalabert. Oedipia Antigone by Johann Peter Kraft, 1809. Adaptations. The stories of Antigone has been a popular subject for books, plays, and other works, including Antigone, one of the three extant Theban plays by Sophocles, the most famous adaptation. Antigone, a play by Euripides which is now lost except for some fragments. Antigone, opera by Tommaso Traietta, libretto by Marco Coltellini. Antigone, opera by Joseph Myslivchek, libretto by Gaetano Roccaforte. Antigone. Settings of the chorus is by Felix Mendelssohn as incidental music for a performance of Johann Jacob Christian Donner's translation of Sophocles. Antigone, play by Jean Cocteau. Antigone, opera by Karl Orff. Antigone, play by Jean Anouilh. Antigone Legend, for soprano and piano, by Frederick Rzewski. Alpha Nu Tau Iota Gamma Omicron Nu Eta, ballet by Mikis Theodorakis. Antigone, opera by Tundaliu. Antigone Furiosa, play by Griselda Gambaro. Another Antigone, play by A. R. Gurney. The Island, play by Atul Fugard. La Pasión según Antigone Perez Passion according to Antigone Perez, adaptation of Sophocles by Puerto Rican writer Luis Rafael Sanchez. Updated to 20th century Latin America. Antigone, play by Salvador Espriu. Tegoni, an African Antigone by Femi Ozavizan. Antigone, adaptation of Sophocles play by Peruvian poet José Watanabe. Antigone, opera by Mark Alberga. Antigone, comic book by David Hopkins. Antigone by Henri Bouchard. Antigone's Red, a short play by Chiyorai Miyagawa. The Burial at Thebes by Seamus Heaney, adapted into a 2008 opera with music by Dominique Legenda. Antigone, play by Mac Wellman. Antigone Vélez, adaptation of Sophocles play by Argentinian writer Leopoldo Marechal. Antigone, an opera based on fragments by Sophocles and Hölderlin for 3 choirs and a women trio by Argentine composer Carlos Stella. Antigone's Song, a short post-apocalyptic musical western film based loosely on the myth of Antigone by Popombella Productions. Antigone by Bertolt Brecht, based on the translation by Friedrich Hölderlin and published under the title Antigone Model 1948. Antigone, play by Antonio D'Alfonso. Antigone, play by Don Taylor. Antigone, Australian adaptation by Eamon Flack, published by Currency Press in 2010. Antigone, a modern adaptation by Antonio D'Alfonso. Antigonic, play by Anne Carson. The Antigone Poems, poetry and art by Marie Slate and Terence Tasker. Antigonus, Lineage de Hembras, play by Argentinian playwright George Huertas. Contemporary productions. A new translation of Antigone into English by the Canadian poet Anne Carson has been used in a production of the play produced by BAM and put on at the BAM Harvey Theatre in Brooklyn, New York. The performance features Juliette Binoche's Antigone, with Ivo van Hove as the director. Run dates: September 24–October 4, 2015.